Hello there and welcome. This is Mikhail or Michael speaking, and as always before this video starts, I want to express my eternal gratitude towards those who decided to support me financially, be it through Patreon, PayPal, or Super Thanks. I really appreciate your help, so thank you friends and have a blessed day. Today's video I will start with the Kharkiv Frontline, which is located here near the Kupiansk and Liman Pershy. Few days ago, Russians had made some advancements here from the settlement of Vilshana in the direction of the settlement of Sinikivka. This territorial change was not big and looked something like this. By that time, I have no idea whether this was a one-time thing or a precursor of something big, and it turned out to be exactly that. In the last few days, Russians were continuously attacking in this sector, all the way from Vilshana to Pershatravnevi, and as a result of that were able to gain significant territories in this sector. As a result of about 3 days of fighting, this is how much territory Russians were able to take from the Ukrainian forces. So as you can see by the map changes, last few days was very eventful on this front line. These significant advances show that Ukrainians are weaker here on this front line than expected, and because of that Russians were able to advance here that much. This of course put the settlement of Sinikivka in great danger, because now not only Russians are able to attack this settlement from the forest and Liman Pershy, but also head on. It is also important to note that attacks here in this sector have not stopped and Russians are continuously assaulting Ukrainian positions. They are attacking all across this open field in the direction of Petropavlivka and of course Sinikivka as well. Of course, Ukrainians cannot allow themselves to lose Kupiansk city. It is very important for them logistics-wise, so I'm sure sooner or later Ukrainians will respond to this threat by sending more and more reinforcements to this front line. Perhaps the situation will look something like this one right here, where, if you remember, Russians initially had a lot of success advancing here in this sector, and Ukrainians quickly reinforced this front line and were able to stabilize the front. Currently fighting here in this sector is ongoing as well. Ukrainians are continuously trying to regain control over the settlement of Nadia and advance from recently recaptured Novogorivka. However, there are no territorial changes that are coming from this front. Then from here, let's quickly visit the Liman front line. Once again, there are no territorial changes to report, but this front line sees a lot of action, especially when it comes to artillery and counter-battery activities. Then from here let's quickly visit the settlement of Bakhmut. It shouldn't come as a surprise that Ukrainians once again try to attack in the direction of Berkhivka and Yagodne. It also shouldn't come as a surprise that these attacks failed yet again. Then let's move to the southern flank of Bakhmut and touch the settlement of Klishevka and Andreevka. Few days ago Ukrainians had made some gains here in this sector, to the northeast of Klishevka. It would seem that their initial attempts at attacking towards Klishevka directly failed, and they decided to spread their zone of control in these tactical heights. If we zoom in, we can see that Russians are still in control of this forest, and perhaps this was the goal of that attack. But as of right now, here in this sector, Ukrainians made minor gains in between these two small forests. Then, of course, Ukrainians had attempted at attacking in the direction of Andreevka as well. Klishevka and Andreevka are now their primal targets on this front, but as of today, there are no territorial changes to confirm. And there were also some limited attacks at the direction of Zelenopilya and Kurdyumovka. These Ukrainian attacks were unsuccessful. Then from here let's move to the Zaporozhian Front line, and first let's touch the situation on the Vremivka tactical bridgehead. Here Ukrainians launched several assaults around Staromayorsky in attempt to spread their zone of control around the settlement, as well as in the direction of Urozhaine. It would seem that after the unsuccessful attack across the Mokry Yali river here, they decided to attack head-on along this road. As you can see here on this photo, Ukrainians used 2 BMP-3s in this assault, and as you can see by the follow-up photos, this assault failed. Both of these BMPs are now lost. As you can see, they are fairly intact, but perhaps artillery fire that Russians unleashed on the Ukrainians when they entered the settlement had rendered these BMPs useless. So at this point in time, it is unclear whether Russians were able to regain control over the northern part of the settlement, or is it still in the gray zone. However, this photos right here and the general situation on the front line spots an interesting situation that is developing. If you remember, at some point Ukrainians entered and, as report suggests, captured the settlement of Staromayorsk. However, it did not give any tactical or strategical advantages because the settlement is located in the lowlands. The tactical heights around it are still in Russian hands. Because of that, Ukrainians are unable to gain full control over Staromayorsk and safely launch attacks in the direction of Urozhaine. So in case if Urozhaine falls, Ukrainians will not gain any strategical or tactical advantages. For that, they need to attack Russian positions to the west of these settlements and gain control over the tactical heights. Without that, Ukrainians will end up like a sitting ducks within both of these settlements, unable to attack further on. Generally speaking, Ukrainians were assaulting Russian positions near the settlement of Novodonetsk and Priyutne, attacking in their direction trying to capture them, but these attacks at the time of recording are reported to be a complete failure. Then from here, let's move to the Kharkiv front line, and there are interesting news to report as well. In the last few days, Ukrainians were extremely active on this front too, and were assaulting Russian positions as always in the direction of Rabotine and in the direction of Verbove. This time Russians were not on the passive defense and counter-attacked Ukrainians in a timely manner. This counterattack was highly successful, and as a result of that, Russians were able to regain this much territory from the Ukrainian side. As you can see, not much, but this nearly recaptured Russian positions mean that they will able to entrench themselves deeper, mine the entire sector once again, and when next time Ukrainians will attack here in this sector, they will be back to square one, advancing under the fire of Russian artillery right into Russian positions and minefields. As this happens, both Russian and Ukrainian side are engaged in artillery duels and counter-battery activities, with Russians flying their drones and attack helicopters, and are almost uncontested by Ukrainian anti-air systems. Then from here, let's quickly move to the Lapkove-Pyatikhatki sector. Recent report suggests that Ukrainians launched a limited attack from Pyatikhatki in the direction of Zherebyanki. However, they were quickly spotted and were forced to retreat. Yet again, Ukrainian activity on this front line is gradually dying down. So this is the end of the video. I hope you liked it. If you did, please consider supporting it with a like, comment, and a subscription. As always, these actions really help to promote this video and motivates me to work harder. If you feel extra generous, please consider supporting me on Patreon, which will allow me to have some extra financial income. Thank you in advance. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day, and always remember, Russia will be free and great.